Today I'm behind the wheel of a brand new 2021 Toyota Sienna, and for this year the Sienna gets completely redesigned from the ground up. It is now bigger and more spacious, the outside is a lot more stylish, and the Sienna looks a lot like a crossover SUV now. Inside, the cabin, the dash is a lot more functional for families, and lastly, under the hood there's a brand new hybrid powertrain. So just how good is this brand new Sienna? We'll keep watching and find out. Starting with the outside, the 2021 Toyota Sienna looks refreshing and stylish. The lower bumper is much more pronounced and the grille opening is very wide. It has a similar look to the 2021 Camry and the Avalon. The headlights are mounted high up and stretch around to the sides. All Siennas get LED headlights with LED daytime running lights, but only the Platinum trim gets the full bi-LED treatment. And all trims besides the base LE gets LED fog lights. Now the side profile of the Sienna is long and low to the ground. Toyota dropped the floor about an inch and raised the roof by an inch to create easier entry. Also, the Sienna is about 3 inches longer than the previous generation with a longer wheelbase. The base LE and the XLE get 17-inch alloy wheels. The Limited gets 18-inch wheels. However, the XSE and Platinum gets 20-inch wheels. The other thing that's very noticeable on the side is the pronounced side bulge or haunches that is very similar to the Highlander, but even bigger. Roof rails are optional on the lower trims. The back of the Sienna is very squared off with a shark fin antenna, spoiler, LED taillights with black inserts, and they form a special teardrop shape. The lower bumper is covered with black cladding. All trims besides the base LE comes with a power liftgate, and the upper trims get the hands-free feature. Inside, there's ample amount of cargo room even behind the third row seats. With this LE, without the spare tire, there's a little bit of storage space on the left side. Behind it, if you open it up, there are tire inflation tools. But with this space, you could also store the 8th passenger seat if you choose to remove it from the second row. Now, if you choose to have the optional spare tire, the left side is now taken up by the tire and there's no more space for the 8th seat. And to generate more cargo room, of course, you can fold down the third row seats, and you can do so by grabbing the grab handles on the seat backs. Unfortunately, the second row seats are no longer removable and they can't be stored in the floor. So that means the total cargo room in this brand new Sienna actually decreases versus the last generation. To get the third row back up, it's the same process, except there's one more strap to use to fold back the seat backs. Now moving to the second row, simply open the power sliding doors, which is standard on all trims. A new feature which allows you to open the power sliding doors hands-free is included on all trims except the base LE. Now this base LE also gets cloth seats with 8 passenger seating. All other trims come with some kind of soft-tech material or leather. Now to get in the third row, simply lift up on the recline handle and push the seat forward. The third row is pretty spacious, even with the second row all the way back, and my knees do hit, but it's still pretty comfortable. And if you move the second row up just a little bit, I have plenty of leg room and also a good amount of headroom. The seats are also fairly high off the ground. There are 2 cup holders on each side, vents on top, and 2 USB ports on the right side. The seat backs can also recline. Now moving to the second row, it is very spacious. I have over a foot of leg room and about 3 to 4 inches of headroom. The seats of course can slide and recline. Although I fit in the middle seat, it's very hard and uncomfortable. And what's even more uncomfortable is the way to remove it. It's a 3-step process and it's very cumbersome and not easy to do. If you're looking into a minivan, you probably want to know about car seat latches. And no worries, there are 5 sets of latches in this brand new Sienna with an extra spare one in the middle of the third row. Second row passengers receive sunshades, climate controls, 4 cup holders, and 2 more USB ports. Now on upper trims, captain chairs are available with super long slide tracks. And the Limited and Platinum, you can get captain chairs with super long slide and ottomans. Very nice for long road trips. And if you want to entertain the kids, an entertainment package is available. You get a 1500 watt inverter, a 11.6 inch display, along with HDMI input, remote, and 2 wireless headphones. This package also tacks on a digital rearview mirror. Now originally with the Limited and Platinum, the Sienna was supposed to come with a vacuum and fridge, but unfortunately due to supplier problems, They have been delayed and could be pushed back until 2022. Now moving up front, the Sienna has a completely redesigned dash along with a fancy new bridge console. The bridge console has a huge opening underneath for storage, and all controls are right at your fingertips. The steering wheel has a similar design just like all other Toyotas. Buttons on the right control adaptive cruise control, music modes, and scrolling. Buttons on the left is for phone, volume, voice control, and to scroll the info screen inside the gauge cluster. Now the gauge cluster has a 4-inch info screen in the middle. Now upper trims get a larger 7-inch screen. The screen displays essential information such as your trip computer, your fuel economy, TPMS, safety system settings, and more. On the left side of the gauge cluster, you see a special gauge for the hybrid powertrain. This gauge will tell you if you are charging, coasting in eco, or accelerating in power. There are a few buttons to the left of the steering wheel for auto high beam, traction control, fuel door, and to turn on or off your power sliding doors. Now moving to the new 9-inch infotainment screen, this is now standard and the only size available. The screen is brighter and is glossier than a normal Toyota screen, however it works exactly the same way. The interface and responsiveness is a bit lacking. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both standard. Most things are touch, but there are a few buttons on the side and a physical knob for volume and scrolling. Underneath is the control for the tri-zone climate control on this base LE. All other trims receive 4 zones instead. Now this does look pretty fancy with aluminum switches for the temperature controls, fan speeds, modes, and sync. The only thing I found weird is the auto button doesn't have a light so you know if you're in auto or not. Now moving to the new bridge console, there is still a standard shifter with manual shifting. If you opt for the LE Plus package, you do get a wireless charger that you see here, and next to it, there is a USB media port. Underneath the shifter, you have drive modes that you can select. Sport, Eco, or Normal. There's also EV mode button, brake hold, and parking brake. And on this bridge console, there are 4 cup holders. And there's 2 more on each door, which means there are 8 cup holders just for the front passengers. Now inside the armrest area, there's some storage space and 2 more USB ports. Now on top, the HomeLink buttons and the sunroof are part of the LE Plus package as well. Alright, I'm on the road. Let's see how good this brand new Sienna is and how it drives. First thing I want to say is this is a pre-production model that was loaned to me by Toyota. So what I'm showing here may change slightly compared to the production model, although I have a feeling that this is pretty close to production. But I just want to say that right off the bat. First thing I want to talk about is the brand new hybrid engine and this powertrain. This was a controversial move by Toyota, and when I first heard about it, I also wondered if it was the right move, because Toyota decided to put only one engine inside the Sienna, and it's a hybrid one. And Toyota is doing that with a couple cars now. And I'm not talking about just the Prius that has been hybrid forever, but the brand new Venza, which just debuted not too long ago, that's hybrid only, and so is the Sienna. And why is this a controversial move? Well, that's because the last generation, the 2020 Toyota Sienna, was powered by a beautiful 3.5-liter V6 engine producing 295 horsepower, and that was mated to an 8-speed automatic. And that powertrain was beautiful. That engine is strong, the acceleration was strong, and everything about the drive was very, very nice. Now, you have this brand new hybrid powertrain, so you have a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder, and it's mated to a couple electric motors, and the total output now drops to 245 horsepower. So there's a difference of 50 horsepower between the last generation and this generation, right? So that's why it's controversial. So there's a lot less power. This is the same powertrain, in fact, that was pulled from the Highlander hybrid. So this engine is not only less powerful, 50 less horsepower, but it's also made it to now a CVT transmission and not that 8-speed. So as you can see, a lot of people's like, I don't know if this is the right move. Now the trade-off for the lack of power is, of course, fuel economy. So in a good way. So this Sienna now achieves 36 miles per gallon combined with front-wheel drive and 35 miles per gallon combined with all-wheel drive. That is a staggering jump from the last generation, which only achieved 21 miles per gallon combined. That is a huge, huge jump, and that is why Toyota decided to make this move. So in a little bit, I'll let you know how acceleration is, especially under full throttle, but I can tell you that I had this car for a few days now, and I've been driving it pretty much every day on local roads, and I even had an opportunity to go on the highway. And I will say that this power, this 245 horsepower, is more than adequate for this Sienna. Around town, I don't feel like it's slow. It gets up to speed relatively quick. And even on the highway, it was pretty smooth. Now, there's an asterisk there. And why do I say that? Because I'm driving by myself, all right? And of course, with a minivan, the purpose is to haul people and cargo and luggage, right? So with myself, I think this is more than adequate. But things could change if you have a whole family in here, right? If you have a family of 4, family of 5, family of 6, and you have luggage in here, it could be a different story. So unfortunately, I'm not able to test that out. What I can tell you about this brand new powertrain is that it's noisy. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part, because this is a hybrid engine and it's mated to a CVT. You get that CVT drone. Anytime you accelerate, you get that engine, and it's not a good sound because it's coming from a 4-cylinder, and every time you accelerate, you hear it. And until you let off the gas, you keep hearing it because the transmission never shifts. So unfortunately, that's there, and I don't enjoy it. The only saving grace to that is I'm driving around with the radio off, and I did have it on, and it mutes it for the most part. So it really just tunes it out. For some of you guys, I think you'll be annoyed by this. So it just depends on if you get used to it or not. Now, one thing I could tell that Toyota tuned, and it's really good, is the regenerative braking. In almost every hybrid and EV car I've tested, when you let off the gas, right, regenerative braking kicks in and the car comes to a stop really quick, right? It doesn't feel like a normal roll like with a gas-powered car. But Toyota tuned this, so I don't feel it at all. I let off the gas, I could see in the gauge that it drops to charging, that regenerative braking is kicking in, but I don't feel the Sienna slow down in any way. So Toyota really tuned that well. However, when you're coming to a stop, like right now, the pedal is a lot more stiff than a normal car's pedal. The brake pedal is stiff, you gotta put some weight to it, and when you do, you don't really feel that linear brake feel. It's kind of like instant, right? So I could tell the regenerative braking does kick in a lot more when you're actually really braking, but when you just let off the gas, you don't feel it as much. So that was accelerating from about 20 to 60 miles per hour. It was okay. Honestly, it didn't feel too slow. I was expecting this to be worse, but that actually felt okay. But when compared to the previous Sienna with 50 extra horsepower, it's definitely a lot slower. So 0 to 60 time in this, not that many of you guys care, but it's probably around 8 seconds. Seeing how the Highlander hybrid gets about 7.9 seconds for 0 to 60, this is probably around 8 seconds because this weighs a little more. But if you compare that to, say, a Honda Odyssey, which gets 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, there's a big difference between acceleration. However, like I said before, when you're driving around town, it doesn't feel too bad. It feels okay. But the question mark is, I don't know how it is when it's loaded. Now, Toyota said they spent a lot more effort making the Sienna more quiet, and I think they succeeded because it's really quiet in here. Today is actually a really windy day, so I do hear a little bit from the wind, but overall, it's a pretty quiet minivan, and I have taken this Sienna up to 80 miles per hour on the highway, and it was still relatively quiet. So I think Toyota did a good job with insulation. Besides the engine drone, I mean, it's really well insulated. Not much from the wind or from the road, actually nothing from the road, and really nothing from the cars passing by, so it's well insulated. Toyota also did a good job with the suspension. The wheelbase did increase over last generation, and this LE, the base trim, comes with 17-inch tires. With that said, it's very, very comfortable. very comfortable. The suspension is soaking up everything really nicely. I don't really feel the bumps much at all. And what's surprising is around corners and bends, I don't feel too much body roll too. I think Toyota did a good job tuning the suspension to limit as much body roll as it can. And the steering is nice too. It feels more or less like a Highlander steering. It has a decent weight, not too light anymore like previous generations, and it's somewhat precise. There's not much play in the steering wheel. So when you have that nice weight and also the precision combined with the really good suspension, it's a nice drive. What's also nice are these seats. This is covered in cloth, it's not covered in leather, but it's nice. It feels good. The cushion is very soft, but not too soft. And it's holding me in, and I'm not sliding around, and I just feel comfortable up here. There's a ton of USB ports. In fact, there's 7 in this base trim. I don't know why manufacturers usually reserve USB ports for upper trims, but this base one has 7. That's a lot. And also, there are 16 cup holders. Yes, that's right. Toyota knows families love to have drinks and just cubby holes to put things. So there are actually 16 cup holders inside this Sienna. That's a lot. Now, something I haven't talked about is this bridge console, which Toyota is very proud of, and they called it bridge console. So it sounds special. And overall, I like it. I like the design. I like how the infotainment and climate control is kind of floating above, right? And this does float right next to you. And the point of this being so close to you is because underneath there's a ton of space. And also what's nice about this is the shifter is right next to you, right? And Toyota is still sticking with a traditional shifter, so that's good. They haven't, switched to a button style or rotary style, and I really like that. Now, the bad thing about this floating design, and this could be just me, I feel like this is a little bit too big and taking up my personal space, right? I gotta say, this dash design is one of the best from Toyota. I really like this design. I think Toyota has been evolving, right, with their dash designs, especially with the pop-out screen. But I think this one, especially with the climate control and the aluminum trim piece underneath and how that flows and how it's kind of a floating dash design, I really like this. I think this looks better than the one in the Highlander or one in the Camry, right? I really like this design. The downside is this is the LE, the base trim, so everywhere that you feel is hard plastic. There's really little places that's actually soft. Now, what I'm surprised about is this brand new Sienna, and it's a 2021 model, is only equipped with Toyota Safety Sense 2.0, not 2.5, which is strange because the new Highlander, new Camry, they're getting 2.5, but the Sienna is still getting 2.0, so that's strange. However, with that said, Toyota Safety Sense still gives you everything. Emergency braking, pedestrian warning, lane assist, lane warning, road sign assist, auto high beam, and this one comes with blind spot monitor, rear cross traffic alert, and full speed adaptive cruise control. So you pretty much still get everything. However, 2.5 is just slightly better, and I'm surprised that this one didn't get it. Now, besides the controversial move to put in a hybrid powertrain, there's a couple other things that Toyota did, or removals, that's also controversial. Let's start out with the second row seats. They can no longer be removed. And that's a bummer for a lot of people because they actually utilize a minivan to haul things like plywood or whatever. And it's nice to be able to take out the second row seats. You could do so in the Odyssey, although it's a pain, but you could do so. And of course, with the Pacifica, you could just fold the seats into the floor, which is really, really convenient. And with the previous Sienna, you could also do that. You could remove the seats, but not in this generation. So they decided that it wasn't worth it, so they made it so you can't remove the 2 sliding seats. And that's a bummer. That's a bummer for a lot of people. Now, the middle one you can remove, but with that said, it's still very difficult. It took me a long time to figure out. It's a 3-step process. And I know like the one in the Odyssey, it's like 2 steps, very easy. This one is like 3, and I I kept fumbling around with it. Eventually I figured it out. And once you do get it out, it's pretty lightweight and you can store it in the back. There's a place on the left side that you can actually hook it up, and it's really secure in there. So that's nice, but it takes a while to figure out how to actually remove it. But yeah, so you can't remove the second row seats. So that's a controversial move by Toyota. Another one is the fact that there's no spare tire anymore. Yeah, that's right. There's no spare tire. So behind the place where you can store the middle seat, you do get an inflation set in case you get a flat tire. Now, with that said, you can get a spare tire as an optional feature. You have to pay a little bit for it. But the place that Toyota stores the spare tire, if you choose to get it, is exactly the same place where the inflation thing is and where the seat storage is. So that's another controversial move, is that there's no spare tire. You have to pay extra for it. And if you do get it, it does remove some of the functionality of the Sienna. One thing I didn't talk about yet is the all-wheel drive option for the Sienna. So you could select front-wheel drive, or you can select all-wheel drive. Now, when you select all-wheel drive, it's not a traditional all-wheel drive setup. There's no drive shaft that's connecting the front axle to the rear axle. In fact, there's just the electric motor in the back that's powering the rear wheels. And then there's electric motor and, of course, the gas engine up front that's powering the front wheels. And Toyota, through their engineering, they can figure out how to divert torque, how to divert power front to back and also side to side. So it's a non-traditional type of electronic all-wheel drive that Toyota has employed in pretty much all their hybrid cars with the RAV4 and the Highlander. It works. I've tested it before in the snow. It works, and that's what you get with this Sienna. And it's pretty amazing that even with all-wheel drive and a very big and heavy minivan, you could still get 35 miles per gallon combined. And what's more amazing is I saw another review by another journalist, and they said they tested Sienna on the highway, and it actually achieved over 40 miles per gallon on the highway, which is even more than what Toyota claims. That's even more amazing. Visibility is good, but not the greatest. I kind of expected better. The front windshield is big, but the dash is quite high. The dash is much higher than, say, the side door panel. So it does cut into visibility slightly. So it kind of makes you want to sit higher. Front visibility is okay, could be better. Side visibility is great. The windows are very, very big. The door panels are low, so there's no problems looking out either side. Blind spot is also good. But the rear visibility also slightly small. The tailgate window, looking from the inside, it's kind of like an oval shape, and it's not the biggest. You would figure out a minivan, it would be huge, but it's not. And I have the third row headrests up, and they do block the view a lot. So visibility is okay, but I would say the driving position is nice. I feel like I have a good commanding view of the road, and it does feel like I'm in a crossover SUV rather than a minivan, and I think a lot of you guys will like that. Now, I think Toyota knows about the rear visibility because it isn't the greatest, so they have a brand new digital rear view monitor that's available on the upper trim, so that's also really nice. Toyota actually put in a few features on the upper trims that is actually very nice. There's actually a fridge in the back for the second row passengers. That's really nice. You know, the super long stretch seats, that's really nice with ottomans. You know, unless you're a really, really tall guy, you can put your feet up and just relax. 360 view, bird's eye view, a heads-up display. You know, those kind of things are offered on the higher trims. They are nice. I think this base trim is also very nice. For those of you guys that just want the basics with some niceties, right? You get that in this LE. And plus, I talked about a lot of the features in here. Now, if you're wondering if this is the minivan to get, or if the Odyssey is the minivan to get, or if the upcoming Pacifica is the minivan to get, it's a hard choice. It's a very hard choice. I think this Sienna does a lot of things well, but I think a lot of people will be turned off by this hybrid powertrain and be turned off by the fact that you can't remove the second row seats. So things like that could be deal breakers for some people. Now, the Odyssey, I've tested many, many Odysseys before, and I really like the Odyssey. I think the Odyssey is near perfect minivan. And I have tested the Pacifica before, And I can't tell you how amazed I am by the stow and go seats. How it could simply fold flat into the floor. That is so convenient. And plus, the Pacifica drives really well too. And this upcoming model, the 2021 model, will also get all-wheel drive. And there's a hybrid option too, along with a gas engine. So the Pacifica is also going to be an outstanding minivan. So this segment, the minivan segment, is getting really competitive. So it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for maximum fuel economy and reliability, then of course the Sienna fits that bill. But if you're looking for maximum utility, practicality, and an optional gas engine versus a hybrid one, then the Pacifica or the Odyssey is a better choice. So it really depends on what you're looking for. So next, let me talk about the trim levels and pricing and give you my final thoughts on this brand new Sienna. As for trim levels, there are 5 to the brand new 2021 Sienna. The base is LE and it starts under $34,500 for front wheel drive. You have to add in $2,000 for all wheel drive. Then you have the XLE, XSE Limited, and finally the Platinum. Now, to get all wheel drive for the XSE Limited and Platinum, the cost varies and is less than $2,000. The one I reviewed today comes with all-wheel drive and comes with the LE Plus package, which costs $2,300, making a grand total right under $39,000. To conclude, the 2021 Toyota Sienna is improved in many ways. The outside looks much more stylish than the previous generation, and the upper trims of the Sienna really fit the name Swagger Wagon. The inside is greatly improved, the front dash and cabin is much more functional and usable. The Sienna is much more spacious in the back with easier access in and out. There's also cool new features such as the fridge, ottomans, hands-free power sliding doors. And standard features like 7 USB ports and 16 cup holders are great for families. The Sienna also drives well with comfortable seats, has very nice suspension and steering, and the Sienna provides a quiet ride. Lastly, the new hybrid powertrain is delivering astonishing fuel economy, 35 miles per gallon, even with all-wheel drive equipped. However, it's not all good with the brand new Sienna. The trade-off for fuel economy is substantial decrease in power versus the last generation and versus its peers. Also, the transmission is now CVT, and the powertrain has an annoying drone anytime you accelerate. The brakes also feel stiff and twitchy. Visibility could be better, and spare tire is now optional. Second row seats are no longer removable, and lastly, I'm not sure why Toyota Safety Sense isn't upgraded to 2.5 Plus. I'm giving the brand new 2021 Toyota Sienna LE a score of 94. To see where it ranks and to learn more about it, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel, and check out these other videos.